Hey guys, it's Rufus. My first tip is to realize that as an anchor, it is okay to leave site temporarily. It's okay to have an area that's exposed, given that you're capable of quickly rotating and supporting that area. This is how teams perform large roams. Usually, when you see a team with 3 or more roamers, you would rush site. However, if the roamers are capable of rotating the site quickly, a rush may not be as effective. This is why it's okay to leave site exposed sometimes. If you're leaving site to support your roamers, you will usually be fine. If the attackers are trying to clear a roam, temporarily removing an anchor from site can be effective, because most of the time, the anchor can always return to site before the attackers can adjust and rush site. You can also just leave site if you want to destroy a drone or two and fall back. You can slightly delay a roam clear and peck at the attacker's utility. The next tip is related to aggression. As an anchor, you are extremely important. If you die early, site will become exposed, and this would force roamers to play closer to site so that they can support site in case of a rush. If the roamers are forced to make this adjustment, the roam game would become weaker, and overall it's going to be very hard for your team to win the round. It'll be easier for the attackers to clear the roamers and easier to execute on the site. Because of this, there are certain times that I recommend being aggressive as an anchor. You should generally peek if you are getting pushed, as you want that peeker's advantage. And if your roamers are dead, then you're going to have to defend site. Sometimes that means being aggressive, because if you're too passive, then the other team will just take their time and roll over you. Now, if you want to watch a video related to aggression, I suggest checking the video linked in the info card above. My next tip is to always support your roamers as an anchor. That can either be by rotating out of sight as mentioned earlier, or by using angles from within sight. Vertical angles and long angles are especially effective since they are usually not as expected. If an attacker is clearing a roam, they may not expect an angle from sight, and so you can easily catch a lot of people off guard by using this strategy. And while I get this is an anchoring tips video, this tip can go for roamers too. As a roamer, there are many angles that you can use in order to watch sight or some other relevant area. Another tip is to not be afraid of using your utility early. A lot of people save utilities such as smoke canisters and nitros for plant denial, but sometimes it is better to use your utility to waste time rather than to deny plant. If you can halt the entire attacking team, that is inevitably going to make it harder for them to plant. However, in the late round, you may not always have a clear shot to kill the planter. Sometimes, preventing the attackers from taking a certain piece of control is going to be more impactful than trying to land a kill on a planter in the late round. My last tip is to not be afraid of being aggressive. Even if you're in more of a supportive role, there are going to be times that you need to be aggro. Even if you're afraid of messing up and losing something valuable, there are going to be times when you have to ignore that fear and just try to make a play. When you're at a disadvantage or are in a bad position, it can be better to go for a play rather than trying to play safe. Usually when you play safe and passive, you get pummeled because the other team has more people and utility. Now if you want to follow my Twitter, Discord server, or Patreon, link will be in the description below. But that's all to say for this video, and if you learned something, give the video a like, and if you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Toodles!